Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a drawstring cast on with the Kiss Loom in the round, but it's not much different even if you want to do it flat. Okay, so I'm just kind of do a half knot and kind of tack it down over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip that first stitch. So there's a pin, a peg, and a pin, and I'm going to wrap it around that peg. Let me see if I can get that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is here's a pin, and here's a pin, here's a peg, here's a peg. Okay, so I'm going to skip that first pin, skip that peg, skip the first peg, but send the working yarn between that pin and this peg. Okay, so I'm going to send it through, and then I'm going to send it back. Then I'm going to skip 2 pins. Okay, so here's a pin and here's a pin. I'm trying to see if I can get the camera to gauge in on there a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to skip a pin, a peg, and a pin, and I'm going to go in between and back. Pin, peg, pin, go in between and back. Pin, peg, pin, go in between and back. So with your wraps, what you should have is 2 pins and a peg that you do not have wrapped in order to do this drawstring cast on. Okay, so when you get that, you're going to go around and you're going to be skipping those 2. Okay, so when you get over to here on your corner bit is where it's going to change up a little bit. Okay, but you're going to keep in mind 2 pins and a peg, and then you're going to wrap it. Okay, and then you're going to skip 2 pins and a peg and wrap. Okay, so this is what it should kind of look like on your wedge section. But that's what you're always keeping in mind in skipping 2 pegs and 2 pins and a peg. Alright, and it'll all make sense and it works out, trust me. Okay, so we need to wrap around here. Let me get to that wedge peg. And then 2 pins and a... Alright, so here's where it gets interesting. Alright, so now we're back to square one. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap and then bring it around. So at this point, it should start to feel more like a kind of row of knit here. Okay, and you are going to see a looseness happen. Alright, don't freak out, okay? Just keep wrapping. So you're going to toss that loop over. Right? So you're going to go behind the next pin, in front of the next peg, behind the pin, in front of the next peg, toss the loop over. Okay. Then you're going to go in front of the next peg, behind the pin, in front of the next peg, and then you're going to toss the loop over. Okay, so pin, peg, pin, peg, toss the loop over. Pin, peg, pin, peg, toss the loop over. Pin, peg, pin, peg, toss the loop over, and pin, peg, pin, peg, toss the loop over. Okay. And pin, peg, pin, peg, toss the loop over. Okay. And once you get a feel for it, you can just go in You're just making sure you toss that loop over, okay? The one loop that you have, and what it's doing is creating a stitch. And you could just go ahead and wrap all the way over. That'll work too. You're knocking over every other stitch, okay. And this is creating a drawstring cast on, okay. Once you start a typical weave like you do a normal knit row, it's not too bad, okay. Alright, and toss those last two over. Okay, that is how you do a drawstring cast on the Kiss Loom. See, and it'll look just like that. Alright, so that's how you do a drawstring cast on the Kiss Loom.